Doer to leader. Even the owners, it's I've got to grind more. I've got to do more than my therapist. I got to do more than my staff. I got to be in the clinic. I got to be showing that I'm doing more than they are. And really what's happening is they're just leveraging their own time. CEO leverages the team, the people, the systems. That's how you scale and grow a business. Is you got to leverage the people and the resources you have. And that's not time, that's impact. And that's leadership.
This episode is brought to you by PT Pintcast Media. Hey, that's us. If you've ever thought about launching a podcast to grow your brand, your clinic, or your business, we can do that. Reach us at ptpintcast.com or just email me, jimmy@ptpintcast.com. After earning an MBA, today's guest spent years navigating boardrooms in regional, national, and publicly traded healthcare companies. Now, he coaches the coaches, empowering million-dollar practice owners to stop bottlenecking their growth, shift from operator to CEO, and scale with clarity, control, and purpose. From the boardroom to the C-suite, all the way to PT Pintcast, meet Steven Allred. Steve, you work with people who are in business.
Yeah.
And doing the thing, either providing healthcare or any business, and then running a business are two different things. And
completely.
I think not enough people realize that. So what do you think the biggest mindset shift owners need to make to actually evolve from going from an owner to a CEO? I'm on LinkedIn. 28% of people on LinkedIn are CEOs. But
Right.
Are they, right? So what's
Right.
the biggest mindset shift from owner to CEO that people need to make?
Doer to leader. Even the owners, it's I've got to grind more. I've got to do more than my therapist. I got to do more than my staff. I got to be in the clinic. I got to be showing that I'm doing more than they are. And really what's happening is they're just leveraging their own time. CEO leverages the team, the people, the systems. That's how you scale and grow a business. Is you got to leverage the people and the resources you have. And that's not time, that's impact. And that's leadership. And that's probably the biggest change that I see. And when it's interesting, when they, particularly clinicians, when they make that change, their business as a whole from a clinical delivery service improves.
How can you tell if someone's going to be able to understand this and wrap their head around it, going from a clinician to a business owner? You know, I've heard people say this phrase before, working on the business, in the business. You didn't just create a business, you created a bigger giant, a bigger
Exactly.
job that now you need to work in 60 to 80 hours a week. How can you tell if someone's going to be able to make that mindset shift before they shift from clinician to anything else?
If they really talk about how much they value being in the clinic, having to do more, and are resistance. It's really the resistance. If they're resistance to change, they're not going to wrap their head around it. The only way that resistance is broken is if they hit rock bottom and they realize, okay, I've got no other choice. I've got to make a change. Now, everybody goes through this transition and it's hard. Look, when I switched from being a clinician to jumping into the business world, I think it was a brutal process for me. I was angry. I was like, I went to school to be this therapist and now I'm changing. What have I done? Just all the things that people go through. And I realized I didn't go to school to be a therapist. I became a therapist because I wanted to make an impact on people and the world around me. And I still do that. I just do it differently than when I was just a clinician. The scale of what I do is completely different than when it was just one-to-one. Neither's good, neither's bad. It's just different. And when somebody looks at it and says, I want to make a bigger impact through my business on my life, on my patients' lives, on the therapist's lives, my community, that's when they start to shift. And it for me, it's a magical thing to watch because I see them embrace it. And, it's interesting. I was having a conversation with an owner, and when I first started working with them, having to work on the business was an annoyance. It took away from their clinical world. And now that they've embraced it and their business is thriving, when they get sucked back into patient care, it's almost flipped to where it's like, I got to go treat because but I can't work on my business because
Right.
they see the impact and the leverage that they've gotten by making that shift.
Are you still stuck spending hours on administrative tasks? Empower EMR automates scheduling, billing, and documentation so you can actually focus on your patients, not your paperwork. Book a free demo now at empoweremr.com. You've said before that your business isn't stuck. You are.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? What does that phrase mean?
Business is a reflection of the owner, period. Their mindset, their beliefs, their attitudes, their fears, their strengths, their weaknesses. It's a reflection of the owner. And so if the business is stuck, it's because the owner is stuck. Because if the owner had the clarity and is able to say, okay, here's where I'm going, then they're going to remove the barriers and the blocks that the business has. They're going to change it. But if they can't see that, if they don't want to see it, they're going to keep the business as it is. So it's just a symptom. Really, when you see a business that's stuck, it's a symptom that you can go back and look at and say, okay, what's going on with this business owner that they're not unlocking it to give it its true potential of what it can do.
Yeah. How do owners wind up being the biggest bottleneck in their own business? What is the thing or things that make, well, a lot of people walk into that very same trap over and over again?
Oh yeah. It's, it's a belief. It's a belief I got to be treating patients, or nobody else does it better than I do. Or I really love being the marketing, or I love being the guy that does the finances, or whatever the case may be. And so they identify with something and they stay there. And so everything flows through them, particularly decisions. And you'll see this if you're in a business and every decision flows through you, you're stuck. You're not going to grow more than the volume of decisions you can make in a given day. And eventually it will get to be overwhelm, and either the business just starts to shrivel up because you have to back it down to something that you can manage, or you say, I got to do this differently. I'm going to make a change. And a lot of times it just takes help getting out of that mindset and figuring out how to do it.
Yeah. You've been in the boardroom with some of the big major healthcare companies. What's a lesson from that world that not a lot of people are probably exposed to that practice owners need to hear?
It is amazing. I sat in meetings, and this is when I was working for a publicly traded company, and we're going through our quarterly business reviews, which, publicly traded, you live and die every 90 days. You got your corporate earnings and you got to report it. And so we're going through this business review, and it was almost just brutal. I mean, it was just, the people weren't, but the focus in on what was going on was so just honed in that you really had to know your stuff. And I listened to the CEO stop the regional managers, and he said, you have problems in these clinics, in these roles, and here's probably what's going on. He hadn't been there. He hadn't gone through the clinic, but he looked at the data that they were collecting in terms of metrics and financials, and he understood how that all fit together. The data is what tells you what's going on. And that was a big aha moment for me to say, wow, this is pretty powerful stuff. You don't try and get the data to be something. You interpret it. It's no different than, you're treating patients and you see some sort of pattern going on, or you see some objective test measures or images coming back, and you're like, oh, here's what's going on, here's what's wrong, and here's what my plan of care is. Same thought process, you're just using different data. So I think that was a huge, huge wake-up moment for me as I was kind of developing my business skills.
How can someone, because we hear about data informed decisions, how can someone be data informed without losing that heart of why they went into business and the ultimate end product of the thing that they're trying to do? Is there a way to balance the two?
Oh yeah, I look at it as kind of you're passion driven, data informed. And if you look back, and this will date me a little bit, but Enron, go back to Enron, the energy trading company. They got so fixated on what their outcomes were that they started doing things that were just wrong. And ultimately, it took down one of the largest companies on Wall Street. It took down one of the most prestigious accounting firms because what happened was the data or the metrics became the goal. And so what you do is you keep the focus on the clinical care. You keep the focus on the financial integrity of the business and what that does for clinical care. You just use the data to tell you, how are we doing? The minute you say profit is the goal, you're going to start doing stuff that gets you profit, but it may ruin other aspects of your business. If you look at it as, hey, we need a profitable company so that we can thrive, so that we have resources, are we making the right decisions that are aligned with our values? What's our profit? What are our values? Now you start making different decisions than, hey, I'm going to cut a corner because I got to get this profit number or this cancellation number to be whatever it is it needs to be. And so it really comes down to just being true to your values, but also being smart and understanding what the data tells you. So it's not this evil thing. It's just understanding how to pull it together.
Yeah, understanding what business you're actually in, what problems are actually standing in your way, what you can actually control versus what you can't, right. And then understanding what position you're actually playing.
And it's interesting. I've often thought that PTs, they have the skill set. We should be really, really good at this because all the things that you just outlined there, is that not what a great therapist does with a patient coming in? They understand what their role is. They understand what's going on. They understand what should be going on and how to fix it. And that's really what a business person does. It's just doing it differently. And so it's not the intelligence. Therapists are super smart. There's enough information about how to look at data, how to do marketing, how to do this. So it's a lot of times, what's our belief? How are we looking at this? And as soon as we start to flip that, that's when I see practice owners really step into their power in terms of building a business that, we'd all look at and say, wow, that's fantastic. So that's the big shift.
Yeah. I wanted to play a game with you, and I wanted to call it CEO or no. So I'm going to give you some rapid fire questions. You just tell me if it's CEO or no. Are you ready?
Go for it.
All right, here we go. So all you have to do is respond CEO or no, and you can give us like a 1 or 2 sentence explainer if this is a CEO responsibility or not. And the reason we're doing this is we want to make sure people understand. If you're put CEO on your LinkedIn bio, are you acting like it, or are you still somebody who's way too neck deep or elbow deep in the business? Spending 2 hours every week on insurance verifications in your business, CEO or
Absolutely
no? All right,
not.
why not?
You can hire somebody to do that. It's a high value because you need to have it, but you can hire somebody else to do that. And if somebody else can do it, then as the business supports it, you should. CEO has to do what only a CEO can do.
Athelis Revenue Cycle Management gives you full visibility to your money, real-time dashboards, automated billing, and higher collections. No more guessing what's coming in. Shoot me a note and I'll get you connected today. Jimmy@ptpintcast.com. How about this one? I'm on the edge, or I'm in the middle. Personally reviewing all monthly financial reports. Is that CEO or no?
Yes, that's the CEO. Personally reviewing the financial reports. I'm assuming you mean like your P&L, your balance sheet.
Monthly, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to understand what's happening in the business. And that's one of the ways you do that. That's data.
Posting to the clinic's Instagram account, CEO or no?
Absolutely not. Outsource it, VA it, definitely not.
Last one, sitting down for weekly one-on-ones with department heads, CEO or no?
Can be. Depends on the size of the company, but yes.
And that's you staying in touch and doing the other thing outside of data review, which is, what is my human review? Where are we and who are we?
You have a management function that's over your operations, and you have a leadership that's leading your management. And so CEO, you're leading your management, and depending on the size of the business and all of that. But yeah, you need to be sitting down and what's the accountability structure? And it's not saying, okay, how did you do? What did you do? It's your department heads are coming to you and saying, here's how we're doing. in my area of responsibility. Here's what the metrics are. Here's what is going on and the challenges and struggles. And here's what we're doing about it. And by the way, CEO, here's the resources I need from you to be able to do my job better. And it's a stewardship that they're coming back to the CEO instead of the CEO sitting down and grilling them. It's the other way around, or it should be, in my opinion.
Last thing we do on each episode, Steve, is called the parting shot. It's your last chance for a mic drop moment or a soapbox statement. Let's point this parting shot directly at owners who either consider themselves CEOs right now or would like to consider themselves CEO. What's the one bit of advice you would give them if they were listening? If that ideal person that you work with at Practice Freedom U is listening?
Step into your power. Don't be afraid of it. When you do, everything changes. I've seen that time and time again. And every time the business thrives, the CEO thrives, the people thrive, and the patients thrive. It is the one thing that you can do that nobody else can. So step into it.
Perfect. If someone wanted to reach out to you and get a little bit of insight, maybe work with you, where would you send them? What's the easiest way?
You got a Calendly link that you can post in the show. You can also reach out to me at Steve at practicefreedom.u and schedule a call with me, and just love to talk to you and answer any questions.
Steve, appreciate the insight. Thanks for doing this. I don't think anybody in our profession wants to see someone who has the passion for what we do and turning it into a business falter. So I think working with professionals like yourself is going to cause fewer and fewer business failures, because I think you're right when you said this before. We have a lot of skill sets that transfer, but that change, that transformation, that's the hard part.
We can be the business owners in the industry and driving it, or somebody else will.
Like what you heard? Great. Subscribe to the show on Apple or Spotify. You can watch the episodes on YouTube. Or don't. I'm not your boss. You want to specialize in ortho, neuro, or sports physical therapy and actually get paid while doing it? Brooks IHL offers accredited residencies and fellowships with full salary, full benefits, and real mentorship from clinical experts. Learn more and apply at brooksihl.org. There aren't nearly enough podcasts in this world. Said no one. Why not launch one more? If you thought about launching a show but don't quite know how, we can help you do all that back-end stuff. Email me at jimmy@ptpintcast.com and we can add one more podcast no one else will listen to the pile.